along, miss any of those coupon codes, or want to know more about those sponsors, you can find that at our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Money tab for coupon codes, and underneath the Season 9 tab for the links to all the companies that financially support the program, so that it can be, so you can hear us on your radio and podcast and in-studio video replay each and every week.
So you want to plan for planting for canning. So this may look like planting more of certain crops. This may look like planting a variety of crops for canning. You definitely want to know what you're going to can, what you plan to can, and what you want to eat. It might be as simple as knowing you're just going to can tomatoes as is and then use those tomatoes for something else later. Same thing with beans. Typical crops that you plant for canning are tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, green beans, corn are the typical most of the canning.
But people can can anything they grow if done properly through the National Home for Food Preservation or bulk canning. You can turnips and rutabagas and pumpkin and squash.
Yeah. I would say this is like traditional. And you know what, actually, I would
most familiar, yeah.
I would add root crops to that as well. And now people are just pickling all sorts of stuff. They're pickling anything from peppers to asparagus to
Jerusalem artichokes.
Yeah. So
Swiss chard stems.
When we say zucchini, we're not talking about canning zucchini. We're talking about canning things like zucchini relish, pickled zucchini.
Yeah, you're not you're not cubing it and then cooking it or canning it.
Zucchini relish. I said zucchini relish. What was the other? Did we something? I don't know. Maybe we didn't do anything else with zucchini. I have heard when I was attending canning classes, people would they would delay plant or plant in succession at times, and this is, your mileage may vary. You can tell us where they succession plant to kind of hold off on some yields to can. To plan for canning a little bit differently. But that's not what we do. We just plant and can as it all comes in. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when it comes to tomatoes, there's determinate and indeterminate, and this could make your harvest vary. Determinate means that the tomatoes this is also known as the bush tomatoes, which it'll put on the main harvest, and then that's pretty much it. And
indeterminate will put on a first harvest and then continue throughout the growing season until frost kills it or you kill it.
That's a vine.
It's the vine one.
Yeah.
And a lot of canners will go with the indeterminate because it continues to provide. You get a big harvest, you get that all canned, you wait a couple of weeks, you get another big harvest. Green beans, if you're going to do green beans in the canning or freezing form, you plant several rows, and then as they're harvesting, halfway through their growth cycle, you plant another several rows so you can harvest, process, go back to the first row, 2 rows, harvest, process, that type of thing.
And actually, square foot gardening gets you the best yield out of all the growing methods.
Uh-huh.
So as opposed to rows, you would do like a square foot row or something. Yeah.
Now, how much do you want to plant in order to can what you want? Your mileage may vary, but there are different charts online that give you approximation of this is how many poundages you need of this for X amount of pints or quarts. For example, for tomatoes, let's see, what do you got? Hot water pack, pint or quart?
Yeah. So this is if you have whole or half tomatoes. And this is with them packed in water. So it takes 21 pounds, an average of 21 pounds per canner load of 7 quarts. So if you have a 7-quart canner, you need 21 pounds of tomatoes to fill that canner. If you're doing pints, it would take 13 pounds for 9 pints. Same size canner, 7 quarts, 9 pints. A bushel weighs 53 pounds. So say...
That's of tomatoes, a bushel of tomatoes.
Yeah. So
a bushel,
that's about 15 to 21 pounds.
15 to 21, or
it comes to 3 pounds per quart.
15 to 21 quarts, averaging 3 pounds a quart if you have 1 bushel of tomatoes. Now, bushels vary based on what you are measuring. A bushel of tomatoes is very different than a bushel of corn, of shelled corn. A bushel of shelled corn is 56 pounds, and all down to the line.
A bushel and a peck. Anyway, so I don't know if we mentioned, but the National Center for Home Food Preservation website has all of these charts, information to help you figure out, okay, I have this much, I'm going to need about this much.
You can also call your local county extension office too, and they have your master canner in your county or your region.
If they have one.
Right. The master canners are very different than master gardeners. Master canners are limited to a certain number in an area, so they don't. Oversaturate, and the information is not misconstrued. You do not have to grow 87 tomatoes in order to can tomatoes. You don't have to grow 1.5 acres of green beans to can green beans or freeze green beans. You can certainly do that, but you also have the option of going to your local farmer's market later on in the season, and there are farmers there that will sell you quantities in which you are requesting. They may not have it available this Saturday. You walk up and go, "Hey, I'm hello, how are you doing? I'm looking to get X amount of pounds of green beans or carrots or fill in the blank because I want a can." They may not have that, but they say, "Hey, come back next week or come to the farm on such and such date. We can get you as much as you want."
But
yes,
this is where this information comes in from the National Center for Home Food Preservation, because you now know that a bushel is
53
pounds. So
of tomatoes.
Of tomatoes. So now you're like, I want to can this many tomatoes. I'm going to need a whole bushel from the farmer at the farmer's market. And then I've done this. I actually bought sorghum ahead of time, but you can buy other things typically from the farmer, and they will gladly give you a discount, especially if you're going to can it. They know that like tomatoes, like they'll give you, a lot of people want, the pretty tomatoes for the nice salad or whatever.
A bushel of green beans, 28 to 30 pounds.
Yeah. So they'll give you like the not magazine cover, and there's nothing wrong with those tomatoes. They're just like
what did Dwight say? The beets? What's
the money beets?
Money beets, yeah, the money tomatoes, yeah, the ones that are not as appealing but still have the best quality. There's nothing wrong with them,
right? And you're going to can them anyway, so you're going to take the peel off, or maybe you're going to make pasta sauce. You're going to run it through the food mill situation. Right. So yeah, so that's the.
You want some other bushel bean facts?
Yes, please.
Soybeans, 60 pounds is 1 bushel. Wax beans, 24 pounds is 1 bushel. White beans, 60 pounds is 1 bushel. So it varies significantly. Well, a bushel is, you're going to have to figure that out. So canning and doing this correctly, whether you are pressure canning or water bath canning, for low acid or high acid food, you've got to know what you're doing. You just can't go, well, across the board, this is what it is. Example, green beans used to be water bath canning used to be like the standard. You could do that. That is no longer safe. You've got to pressure can green beans. We choose to boil, blanch, and freeze our green beans because we find doing it that way, there's more of a pop or a crisp to those green beans than when we pressure can them.
So I know we're talking about canning vegetables, but just, the National Center for Home Food Preservation has the canning of the vegetables. It has jams and jellies, has pickling, has fermenting, freezing, drying, curing, and smoking.
Okay.
Which might come in handy for us.
Uh-huh.
Joey and I recently bought a smoker. And then storing, I don't know what storing is. I guess I could click on that. But just, there's all this great information. Is very helpful.
Trusted, reliable source.
Yeah. The ball canning website, which is
freshpreserving.com,
very helpful as well. But the National Center for Home Food Preservation, if you're just especially if you're just looking for the basics, there's recipes on there. But if you're just looking for the basics, like I have a bushel of tomatoes. How many tomatoes can I can? Or what can I do with this? It's really helpful.
So, now that the weather is warming up, Holly, and you'll want to start protecting your garden and yard from those various beetles, weevils, borers, including Japanese beetles.
And what better way to prevent those pests from destroying your garden than by controlling them while they are larvae? Grub Gone is an easy-to-apply granule product that can be spread on your turf to successfully control grub invaders. Developed by Phylum Bioproducts from a naturally occurring bacteria, Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT product that specifically targets only certain scare pests, and it's safe to use around bees and other beneficial insects.
If you already have those beetles flying around your yard, as well as some of us do, and they are going to attack your green beans, your rose bushes, and anything they can get their little chompy mouths on, Beetle Gone is the organic water dispersible powder, the only one on the market that can be sprayed directly on your edible plants. Find out more at beetlegone.com. and find all of their information at phyllumbioproducts.com.